There is a robin outside your window right now. Maybe a crow sitting on the telephone wire. Perhaps a mockingbird somewhere in the oak tree at the edge of your driveway. And if you are the kind of person who once crouched down in a parking lot or knelt in damp grass and gently picked up a fallen baby bird to put it back where it belonged, then you need to hear this. Those parents almost certainly remember your face. Not in some vague, blurry animal way. Not the way we imagine creatures remember things instinctively, without detail. They remember you the same way you remember someone who once did something to you that you never quite forgave. Sharp, indexed. And in some species, that memory gets passed on. To their young. To their neighbors. To birds that were not even there that day. That one moment of kindness, the most human, most gentle thing you did that afternoon, may have permanently registered you as a danger. This is not poetic exaggeration. This is not scientists' project. Ting human feelings onto animals. This is one of the most carefully documented findings in modern behavioral ecology. And it starts with a question almost nobody ever thinks to ask. What does a bird actually see when it looks at a human face? Dr. John Marsloff at the University of Washington spent years trying to answer exactly that. Between 2008 and 2012, his team ran a series of experiments that still feel almost too strange to be real. Researchers put on latex rubber masks, a specific caveman mask they designated as a dangerous face, and walked through campus while trapping and banding crows. The birds were not harmed. They were caught, tagged, released. Standard field work. Then months later, the same researchers walked the same paths wearing the same masks. The crows did not just avoid them. They mobbed them. They dive-bombed. They called out. And other crows, who had never even been present during the original trapping, joined in too. The memory had not just survived, it had spread. Bird to bird, flock to flock. In one documented case, the hostile reaction to a single mask continued for over 13 years. Across generations, birds that were not yet born when the original trapping happened were still treating that face as a threat. 13 years. For picking up a bird and putting it back. Now most of us have heard that crows are smart. We know this in a comfortable, distant sort of way. But the architecture underneath that intelligence is something most people never actually sit with. American crows have a brain-to-body ratio that puts them in the same range as great apes. The region of their brain that handles complex decision-making, called the nidipallium quadrilaterale, shows the same kind of flexible, adaptive wiring found in the mammalian cortex. Crows pass self-recognition tests. They make tools from raw materials without being taught. They can mentally project themselves into future situations and plan accordingly. So when a crow watches a human walk toward its nest, it is not reacting. It is thinking. It is comparing your walk, your posture, the shape of your face, the geometry of your features against every prior interaction it has stored. It does not see a generic person. It sees you, specifically you. A 2012 study in the journal Animal Behavior confirmed that crows can tell individual human faces apart with roughly the same accuracy that humans can. They do not see a species. They see an individual, and they keep records. But here is the part that makes all of this so quietly devastating. You did not trap that bird. You were not trying to scare it. You saw something small and helpless on a hot sidewalk, and something in your chest pulled you toward it. You reached down. You were careful. You meant well in the most fundamental way a living thing can mean well. And from the branch 12 feet above you, the parent watched a large, warm-blooded creature crouch over its defenseless offspring and make sustained physical contact. With it. The intention was invisible. The behavior was not. From a purely biological signal standpoint, what you performed was functionally indistinguishable from a predation attempt, and the parent bird's nervous system, built across 66 million years of evolution, refined by every nest that was ever lost. Every chick that was ever taken did exactly what it was designed to do in that situation. It filed you under threat. There is a concept in classical ethology called sign stimuli. It was identified by the researcher Nicolaus Tinbergen, and it describes how animals do not respond to the full complexity of a situation. They respond to specific, high-contrast triggers. A herring gull chick will beg for food from a painted wooden stick if it has a red dot on it, before it will beg from its own mother without one. The trigger overrides everything else. For a nesting bird, the trigger is simple. Large animal, close to nest, touching offspring. That is the entire equation. Your WA. Rethink, your care, your quiet murmuring does not exist inside that equation. There is no input field for intention. And the sensory world through which that bird watched you is far stranger and more detailed than most people realize. The average backyard songbird, your robin, your sparrow, your mockingbird, has 4 types of cone cells in its eyes. Humans have 3. That 4th cone extends their vision into the ultraviolet range, somewhere between 300 and 400 nanometers, a range we cannot see, cannot imagine, and cannot account for. This means that when a bird looks at your face, it is receiving an entirely separate layer of visual information that is simply not available to you. Subtle UV, reflective variations in skin, microgeometry of facial structure, possibly even chemical trace signatures left by touch. Many songbirds also process visual information faster than we do. Their flicker fusion rate is higher, meaning time itself moves at a finer resolution for them. Where you see a smooth, continuous motion, they may be reading individual frames. You are, in the most literal perceptual sense, a lower resolution version of reality to the bird watching you from that branch. And that bird almost certainly told others about you. Avian alarm call research has been quietly rewriting what we understand about animal communication for the past 15 years. Dr. Christopher Templeton's work with black-capped chickadees showed that their alarm calls are not just noise. They encode specific data, predator type, predator size, urgency level, all of it expressed through combinations of tonal notes and repetition patterns that surrounding animals, including other species, can decode and act on in real time. A chickadee alarm silences a nuthatch 30 meters away. A crow scolding makes starlings freeze and orioles go still. The backyard you think of as quiet is running a continuous, real-time threat broadcast that your auditory system was never built to understand. Somewhere, inside that broadcast, in combinations of notes your brain cannot pass as language, is a description, a physical description, of a person who once touched something. This is the part that tends to change the way people stand in their own yards. You have always assumed you are the one doing the observing, that you are the aware one, the conscious one, the one with the rich inner life, looking outward at a simpler world. But the environment just outside your window is not a passive backdrop. It is an active, networked, constantly updating information system populated by organisms running memory architectures, communication protocols, and threat recognition systems that are older than our entire genus. The crow on the wire is not decorating your morning. It is reading you, cross-referencing you against a socially distributed archive that includes its own experiences, its parents' experiences, and the experiences of every flock member who has logged an interaction in this specific geography, Afik territory. You are a known variable in a system you never knew you had entered. The nestling you saved, if it survived, if it fledged, if it grew up in the same neighborhood where you still walk your dog and check your mail, may have grown up hearing your name. Not your actual name, obviously, but your description, your shape, the way you move. It may have been there for the scolding sessions its parent aimed in your direction. It may carry, somewhere in whatever passes for memory in that small and extraordinary brain, a flag attached to your face that means simply, be careful around this one, not because you are dangerous, because you touched something once out of love. And the biological universe does not have a category for love. It only has behavior. And in the ecology of survival, behavior is permanent. So the next time you are standing in your driveway and a bird somewhere, just out of sight, starts scolding at nothing you can identify before you dismiss it, before you go, oh, back inside, stop for just a moment and consider this. How many animals within 100 meters of where you are standing right now know your face, have categorized your movements, and have already made a decision about what you are? And how much of that reputation did you build without ever once knowing the camera was on?